there, thanks for joining me to color. Today we are going to be doing this cute Whimsy Stamps image called Playful Kittens. And you can get this stamp either as a digital over at WeStamps.com, or you can buy the stamp itself over at WhimsyStamps.com. And it comes with 4 kitties and 3 sentiments, so it's a pretty good deal. Right, here is the stamp, so you get a bunch of cute little cats on here. And this was a card kit at one time in the store. I just happened to come upon it the other day and thought it would be perfect for us to practice making those cute clouds up there in the sky. Put that over there. We're going to do these cute little clouds up here in the top. I thought that would be fun. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get here. So while we're waiting to see if anyone shows up or wants to come and chat, how about we check out the latest card kits that I put in the store here in the last 3 weeks. So this one is called Honeybee Beatrice, and it is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. Picture, isn't she cute? And she's still available too if you'd like to head over to the store and grab her up. And then last week I did this cute Whimsy Stamps one that's called Scout's Honor. Isn't he adorable? He's been sitting in my color box forever too, so I thought we could give him a color. And he'd be really cute if you I made it kind of a boyish card, but you can make him a girl by doing maybe some pink pants and a sparkly bedroll or something like that. That'd be really cute. And then I'm ahead of schedule this week. I've already loaded this one into the store for next week. This is Sweetly Susie, and she's got her cute little coffee or her picture of stuff. She's going to be doing some cooking, but I just put her in the store this week, so if you'd like to head over and grab her, she's right there on the front screen of the store. My husband has currently put a new scroll bar on there, so I put that on the front, so you could just click on it and head straight there and grab her because she's really, really cute. So I'm going to put that over there. So for my clouds on my little kitty here, I kind of cheated and I used a My Favorite Things Puffy Clouds die, and I cut out these little clouds right here, and I'm going to use those as my template to make the clouds up. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to draw them on a separate sheet of paper. And I'm going to use a pencil. You can get the pencil to work. So I'm going to kind of just decide which way I want my clouds to go. And so I want this big fat puffy part down here at the bottom to be the bottom of the cloud. So I'm going to put it on here. And then I'm just going to use my pencil to go around the outside. And you could use any cloud template or die cut that you have, or you could make up your own if you're so talented. I'm not that talented. I don't know why. They're just little partial circles. It shouldn't be that difficult, but it is. And then I'm going to turn this one over and do the back side of this one. It's a little bit smaller. Like this. So you've got your little clouds on there, and let's see. On my clouds, and then I want to add a little bit of definition to my clouds. So let's start with this big one over here, and I'm going to make this larger section kind of come down a little bit. So I'm going to add my little pencil line. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's bring this one in. And like we're going to complete the circle. I kind of get it going in the same swoopy direction. And over here, let's do this one this way. And let's go this out like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing to my smaller cloud over here. But we just add our little stuff in there like that. I'm going to go ahead and do it to my kitty one too, so that I'll have those ready too. So let's go ahead and move that over here. And then I'm going to add my clouds up here where I want those to go. Let's do right here. That. And then we smaller one. We can practice on that one too. Add a little bit bigger here. So, hi Trish, thanks for joining me. This is not a kit. This is just a stamp I found. It was, the kitties were a kit at one time, and I was cleaning some stuff up the other day, trying to kind of look for something we could use to make clouds, because last week someone asked to practice that. So I found the little kitties in my basket, and I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect. And it comes as a digital stamp too, so you can go over to WeStamps.com and pick up a digital stamp and print them out. And then the clouds are from the My Favorite Things Puffy Clouds sentiment, or Puffy Clouds die. It comes with a whole bunch of little bitty clouds this size, so an inch or so. And I think a lot of people use them for backgrounds. They cut out a bunch of clouds out of the background and then use that as part of their card. But I'm not as talented that I can draw the cloud myself, so I need a little help. So the little cloud template would be perfect. So if you have a different one, a different die that you have clouds with, you could use that too. If that makes sense. Okay, so I've got my clouds on there. And then I've got my cheater sheet over here, and I have both because I'm going to kind of show you how to do the clouds on this one over here, and I'm going to leave the lines on because it's kind of hard to see, because on this one, the actual kitty one, I took my eraser and I erased these clouds so that you can just barely see them on the paper. Because after you color over them, you're not going to be able to take the lines off. You're going to have those ugly pencil lines on there. So I erased my little clouds within reason. I left a little bit there so I could see it. You could also, too, I guess, press harder with your, use a stylus and go around it and press a little bit of an indentation into the paper. And then that would work for you to have an outline for you to color on. So now on my clouds, you can just barely see them on my page. And I should erase them just a little bit more than this. I just didn't want all the ugly pencil lines to show through after I colored it, because in some of the spots, the cloud's just going to be nothing. So if we go like that and erase it, let me wipe it off on my pants, then you have just a little bitty outline of the clouds on there. But for everybody being able to see its sake, we're going to use the one with this first, just so you can see me color it, and then we'll actually color this kitty one next. So for our clouds, we are going to use N0, C0, and our colorless blender. I'm going to start with N0. And I want to put that wherever it's going to be a little bit, going to be darker. So let's start on this one over here, this bigger, fatter cloud. And I want to have where the little lines come out is where I want it to be a little bit darker. And I'm going to barely touch the tip of my pen to that paper. So it's making a pretty small line. And then we're just going to flick out a little bit. And then I kind of put a little dab of color at the top of the circle. And then same thing over here. We're going to bring that out away from this line. That. And then over here. And even though this one doesn't have any stuff, we're going to put a little bit out here on the outside just to give it a little bit of a shadow. That around. But you want to just barely touch that paper. Let's add a little bit to this one. We've got a little bit of color there. And then I want to add C0. And for that, we're just going to go right over the top of our N0. A little bit more. And then I want to add this kind of around a little bit inside my circles that don't have any stuff. Give it a little C's in there. And then I want to go over that with my colorless blender. And I did it a couple of times, so I wasn't worried about it, how it looks now. I'm just going to circle over the top of my whole cloud. Get the paper all wet. It's kind of messy. And then we're going to go back again with N0. And we're going to add that in just a little bit. So again, barely touch that paper. And maybe we'll add a little bit out here. Put a color there. And then we'll add C0 again. And we just want to soften that edge. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing with my colorless blender. Kind of smush all that stuff together. So we have a cloud like so. When it dries, it won't look so blotchy as it does now. It'll look dry, obviously. But because it's so dark with the pencil lines, those are not going to be there. So what we're going to do is, since Trish has joined me, thank you, Trish, I'm going to go ahead and work on we're going to save this cloud up here in case someone else shows up and then needs a demonstration. We'll do it again a little bit later on. But we're going to work on one of the clouds on our kitty. And the cloud is there. I already colored it and I erased it so that I could do it without having a bunch of lines. So we're going to do our N0 first. And we're going to do right along the line that you drew. And I can see my line. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but I can see a little bit of it still up close. And I want to go over this line we drew inside the cloud. And then I kind of bring it out in kind of like a half triangle towards the bottom. Let's do the same for this side. So we'll start tiny up here and then kind of feather it out so it gets like a little wedge around the bottom there. And then for this one, who doesn't have anything, I'm going to do just a little bit on the outside and kind of bring it in a little dab. Thanks, Trish. This is my whole, I've done these clouds 3 times now. This will be the 3rd time I've colored them. So we're kind of winging it. So now we're going to do C0. And actually I put it off forever and ever because it just seemed so complicated. And it wasn't really that terrible. I mean, I think I could still use a little bit more practice, but they're okay. Then I'm going right over the top of my N0 that I laid down the first time. Just adding a little bit of color. And I'm thinking I'm gonna add a little bit maybe up here at the top of this cloud, very where it kind of curves aside there. Now I'm going to go over all that with my colorless blender. And I just go in a circle over the entire thing. I'm clear to the outside too. And this will work best if your colorless blender is full. So that won't be, it will, if it's dragging across the paper instead of sliding across it really smoothly, you should probably refill it and then try it again. Hi from Spain, glad you could join us. We're doing clouds. I already drew them on the paper with a pencil. So we're gonna do this one here again in a second, but I have the little pencil mark on there and I drew them on with a cloud template using the My Favorite Things Puffy Clouds die. But I just cut out some little templates and I flipped them over because I like the fat piece on the bottom and traced around them with a pencil. And for video's sake, I left the pencil marks on this one for us to practice, but for the real card, I erased them after I put them on the card so that they won't be visible. You can't erase them after you've colored it because it's underneath of all that ink. So we're going to color the second cloud over here, and I don't know if you can see it there or not, but it's just a little bitty outline on the outside. And we'll save this little practice one over here for in case a few more people show up. So I'm going to start with N0 over here on this one. And I try to put my color wherever I drew my lines that came down into my cloud. So like right here, I added a little mark that comes down. And then I give it a little wedge of color. So down at the bottom of my line, I make a little bit. And as I go towards the top, I widen my little stripes out. And my pen is just barely touching that paper because I don't want it to be so dark that it's obnoxious and takes a big, huge chunk of my page. So just a little tiny bit, and then we'll feather away from that line. Oh, and this one over here, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of a line out here so we can kind of see the cloud. And same for that one here. And then I like to do a little bit just kind of inside the circles. So add a little bit of color in there. Then we're going to, hi Terry, thanks for joining us. We are working on our clouds, and I saved a template to show a little bit later of us doing another one on my little practice sheet. So I've got one here that I colored on a piece of paper in really dark lines so we can see it. So after I finish these, we will hop over there and we can practice that again. So now for this one, we're going to add C0. And I just want to brush on top of my N and then go over everything to soften it all out. Round. I'm using very little pressure on my pen. I want it to barely brush over that paper. Then we're going to do the colorless blender over the top of this. And I just swirl over the whole thing. And make sure to go past the lines. That'll kind of squish it all together. Then we're going to do N0 again. Work our way around here, add a little bit of color. I've been watching, you see on all the blogs, all the tons of, then we're gonna do C0. Tons of people make these great clouds, and I'm always like, oh, I can't do that. That's just way too complicated. So I've seen this one where they'd done some with a little cloud template, like I did, and I'm like, okay, that's a possibility. I could do that. I don't know why clouds are so intimidating, but I can't draw. So the thought of having to draw my own is just, that's too much. I can't do it. I probably could, but they wouldn't look that great. They'd be all wonky. They wouldn't be straight like they are when you just cut it out. Then I'm just going to swirl over all of that with my C, or my colorless blender. Got what color it was on. And remember, this works best if your colorless blender is full. Or at least not running out and dry. Mine just slides over the paper like, I don't know, wax paper. It just glides right over there. And it got the paper, you can actually see a puddle all over the page. So, a little bit of the puddle there. But after it dries, you won't have the little puddle. Got our cute little guys there. So now we're going to add some, let's see, Y00. Let's do a little bit of it our background here. So let's put this over here. And then we'll add to the background, we're going to do Y00, B000, and B000. I'm going to do Y00 first. And that's just to give them the appearance for me. So there's like maybe a little bit of sunshine in the sky, and it's kind of showing today. Actually, today here in Oregon, we have sun. It's not pouring down rain today, which is nice. So I'm going to use this underneath the bottom of my little clouds. And again, I'm just barely touching that paper. I'm kind of using the line on the bottom as my guide. And then we'll do the same thing for this side. Go right along the bottom. And that'll give our cloud a little bit of definition where I erase my line. A little bit of yellow there. Then we will add our B000. And for this, I'm going to just flick away from the edge of that cloud. I'm going to touch down on top of that yellow. We don't want the yellow to be quite so prominent. Flick right. And try not to color the cloud. It's kind of hard to color going in just one direction. I think I'll bring that up just a little bit over here. We got a little bit of our blue there. And we're going to do the same thing for this side. I think I'll bring it out over here too. Now, do I want to go around the top? Yeah. So now we've got our stuff there. So now I'm going to use my B_0, and I'm going to add some more color. So let's go, I'm going to go ahead and just flick away from these 3 colors. So I'm going to lay down on top of my yellow and then pull my pen away from that. I'll do the same over here. Okay, now we're going to color in the back. And if you had a Copic airbrush system, you could do that. Just mask off your clouds and then spray over the top. Or if you were like me, didn't want to mess them up, I'd do the spraying first and then do the clouds after that. But I'm just going to start at the edge here, and I'm going to bring my pen across the whole page. I'm going to come back and kind of overlap it so that the ink will be on touching the other ink, so that it won't leave a big line in the middle. And then I want to go around this cloud, so let's go this. I'm going to go ahead and outline this one so I don't mess it up. And we're going to go across. Remember to go overlap the stripe above it. Let's do this one. Wipe all the way across. So you got your clouds there. I want to bring this down to where the kitty's sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe all the way down here to the bottom. Move my paper up a little bit. I colored my butterfly. Good thing we can erase that later. This is such a light color that you probably won't even have to worry about that. You just color right over the top of it. I'm going to bring my sky down to where the cat is going to sit on the ground. And we're going to go. I don't just color the poor butterfly anymore. Go this way. And we're going to go down here to there's still tail. That. And then if you're worried about all those little lines, because there are still a few lines in there, you could take your colorless blender and just swipe over that blue. And again, this is going to work best if your colorless blender is full. And you can make it darker by adding more blue. I think I'm going to do up here at the top a little bit, underneath these clouds. I'm going to give it a second coat of my B_0. Do you girls think that's something you'll be able to do? You're going to try it out? I'd like to see if you do. You can always email me a picture. So they weren't too bad. And I think I'll actually go in with my clouds now that I have them colored in the back. I'm going to add a little bit of my N0. Just a little bit in the shadow areas. And maybe a little bit over here. A little bit more definition. You guys have any questions? We want to do the other practice one with the pencil mark so you can see it better, or are we good to go onto the grass? Also, if you have any ideas for something we want to do in the future, I think next week we're going to do something with wood. So I have an image picked out over at Sassy Cheryl's that I'm thinking that we will do next week to learn how to color. It's a bench or a fence. So we can do that. But is there something you'd like to do after that? And I can write it on my list. I'm going to go down here and we're going to work on the grass. I'm going to add G21 first. And I didn't do anything fancy, just like the clouds or the sky up above. I'm just going to take my pen. I'm going to run it across the bottom. I'm going to try not to color that cat. And I think I'll bring this up just a little bit past his tail. So let's go up here just a little bit, because it's kind of higher over here. And then I'm just going to use this. Go all the way across. Remember to overlap your pencil or your pens, your lines, so that they kind of smush together. And I'm holding my pen more sideways so that it's using more space than if I had it tipped up trying to make those little dinky tiny lines. Practicing is always good. You can't get good the very first time. So this, we're going to add G20. And with the little template, it's really not as complicated as I was trying to make it be. So if you find yourself a little cloud die, and if you're like me, you have more than one, and just cut it out and use that as your to draw with, to draw down the base, and it's kind of less intimidating than it was having scary thought of drawing my own. So, give him some grass. And let's see, what can we do for this poor kitty? Let's do W6, 4, 2, and 0. And everything just takes practice. I have friends I color with once a week or once a month we get together and we always do some kind of girl or some character, and the hair, they hate that hair. I'm like, you just got to do the little flicking and the little streaks. And they're like, oh yeah, Heather, you make it sound so easy and yours looks so fabulous. But I color every day and they color once a month. So takes practice. So for our kitty, we're going to do W6. And like I said, you can always do your practicing too with the pencil marks on until you get a little bit better, and then try erasing the pencil so you just have an outline to color with. For W6, let's do, got his arm that's showing through the back here, so I'm going to do that first so I don't forget. And then let's do a little bit under his chin here. And we're just going to go right along the bottom. And his other foot over here is showing a little bit. And I think I'll bring this. I like to flick out a little bit more so that I got a softer edge at the end. I'm going to bring that up just a little bit more. And then I better do a little dab down here under his arm and some on his arm. Then we'll add W4. And touch down on the edge of your W6. And just flick away from that. And as I flick, it's fatter down at the base. And as I get towards the top, it goes a little pointy and it's a lot thinner. I use less ink as my hand comes up. Then we're going to add W2. And I'm going to give him a second coat, so I'm not worried if he's not looking fabulous. And then W0. See, he doesn't look great. He looks terrible. But we're going to go back with W6 and start over. So he's going to get better with our second coat. And this time I'm going to bring my line out just a little bit farther than I did the first time. So it's going to go past the first W6 just a bit. Oops, colored the grass. Then we'll do W4. I'm going to color in this back arm. And color in his belly. I'm going to add W2. My W2 this time around, I lay it down on top of my, I kind of bring it from the bottom, so the W6, and then instead of flicking it, I kind of drag it for just a second so that it takes a little bit more ink up, my paper does, and smooths it out just a little bit more. Just a fraction of a second longer. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing with my W0. Color this tail first. But I'm going to go over the entire cat. I want to hold my pen just a little bit longer and smooth it across. I'm going to let that dry. Then I'm going to hop down or hop up into his face, and then if it needs more color, I'm going to come back. I'm going to start it on his face with my W6. Let's do a little dab up here on his ear. And then on his head where his ear's coming away a bit. And the back of his face over here. Let me turn my paper a little bit. I do better flicking away for myself. Then we're going to go W4. W2. And we're going to give it a second coat, so don't worry if it's not looking perfect. And then we're going to go W0. Then we're going to go with our second coat. So W6. Second coats always make it better. Usually. Sometimes it requires a third coat. And this time I like to go past where I put the W6 the first time. I'm flicking just a little bit further than on the line. And W4. W2. And then our W0. I like to use the last color to swipe over the entire area. And for his ears, we're going to add our 30. And his nose. And then to make him not quite so pink, I'm going to go over that with my W0. So far, so good. So next, let's do, well, we forgot to do the stem. Let's do that. Let's do G21 to do our flower stem. And mine's pretty dinky, so I'm just going to color it in. Then I'm going to use, for my little butterfly over there, I'm going to use, whoops, W6 for the body, because there's just a little bit of his body showing where it's touching the petal or the flower stem. Color that in. And then for his petals, we're going to use Y19 and Y00. And I didn't do anything too fancy. I just laid my pen down here at the bottom, kind of flicked up into his wings. And I might use that again, so we'll leave that out a minute. And then we're going to add Y00. Fill that in. Yep, I knew I was going to need that Y19 again. And then for flowers, we're going to use V15 and V12. I'm going to start with V15. And I'm just going to give them a little bit of color down here at the bottom. And we might need a second coat of that. I'm going to do V12 to fill them in. And then I'm going to put another coat of my V15 on there. Hi, Adele. I think it's Adela. How are you today? Thanks for joining us. So now that we've finished our cute little kitty, I'm going to go ahead and do my last sample of my cloud here, just so we can see how we did it again in case you weren't here at first. So for my cloud, I cut out some templates with my Favorite Things Puffy Clouds die. And I took my pencil and I just drew them onto, I flipped them over because I like the fat piece at the bottom best. But I drew them on there with a pencil. And then we're going to use, for my actual card, I erased the pencil line after I put it on there so that you wouldn't see it when you're done. Otherwise, they are going to, you can see the pencil line does not erase. Let me try it. Yeah, it doesn't erase. So it'll erase where you didn't really put the pen mark, but where you actually colored, it's not going to come off that well. So I went ahead and erased it on my actual picture, so I only had the outline on there. But let's go ahead and practice this one. So for the clouds, we're going to use N0, C0, and our colorless blender. I start out with my N0. And wherever I drew a line to come down into the cloud is where I colored my pen over the top of that little line and then bring it over a little bit and then kind of do like a little wedge. Like down here, we got this little section, skinny at the top. And as we come down here, we're going to make it a little wedge, maybe a half triangle. And I'm just barely touching that paper with my pen. I don't want it to take up too much. The minute your pen touches that paper, it starts sucking up ink. So I don't want it to have so much there that it's obscuring my cloud. And I'm going to do a little bit out here on the edges of these fatter ones. And then for these, I also brought a little bit up into the inside. Got a little bit of stuff there. Then we're going to do C0. And for that, you're going to touch down on top of your N0 and just pull it out a little bit. And then you're going to do your colorless blender. Whoops, around. And I swipe over the entire cloud. And I make sure to go out into the background. Get it all wet. Let it kind of smush those colors together. And then I want to give it a second coat. Okay, so for our second coat, we'll again go with N0. And then C0. And then a second coat of our colorless blender. And I just swirl over the entire thing. Make a little puddle on there. But pretty easy. With a little template, it was no problem at all. And to put my card together, I didn't do anything fancy because the card, the little piece on the front is pretty large. So I've got let's zoom out a little bit. I've got the card base, and then I've got this, I think this is walnut cream. It's new. I just put it in the store under paper if you want to go grab some of that. It's really nice, light, grayish tan color. It's really pretty. So I didn't do anything fancy. I'm just going to attach all this together. And this little stamp, the little Playful Kittens, comes with 3 sentiments, so you could put one of those on there, stamp one of those on there, or print it out on there if you're using your printer to print it. And we're gonna tackle these pop dots. Are always a problem with these nails. Put some pop dots on here. Before I forget, I'm currently running a coupon for 30% off dies at the store. If you're interested in that, you go over, toss all the dies you want into your cart, and when you check out, you just put the word dies, capital letters, D-I-E-S, in the coupon code thing, and it will give you 30% off. Got some dirt on my card there. Let me blow that off. And if you go use the coupon, the first person who uses a coupon to check out after my video, I will put this card in your order and you can send it to a friend. So did you guys all have fun coloring the clouds? Do you think that's something you are going to be able to do? I think if you practice, you'll be able to it'll be perfect. It wasn't as hard as I was trying to make it be. This is only the 3rd time I've colored them, and I think mine turned out pretty good for a template. But you can do it. So let me know in the comments below if there's anything you'd like to try in a future week, and I will add it to my list. Otherwise, next week we're going to be doing something with wood. I have my eye on a fence one over at Sassy Cheryl's, so that may be it. I'm not sure yet. But if you want to do something in a previous or in a future week, leave it in the comments and I will write it on my list, and then we can do that. If you're interested in any of these supplies, I'll put a link down in the description box so you can head over to the store and pick that up. Good job, Trish. You give it a try. I want you to try it, and then I want you to send me a picture so I can see how pretty it looks. Definitely give it a try. You can't get better if you don't try it. And I've put off doing clouds for like forever because they always seem so intimidating. But with a little template, it was actually not that terrible. So you can do it. And I'd love to see your pictures. So if you do the template and make some clouds, send me a picture to HeathersHobbieHaven@hotmail.com, and I would love to see it and tell you how great they are. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment and I'll make sure to get back to you. Otherwise, I will see you next Thursday live at 12 o'clock Pacific time. Have a great week. Bye.